Hello and welcome back to another CADclip series. In this mini series here, we're going to do something interesting, more applicable for, I think, kind of residential or small projects, or specifically in Canada where we might do our building permit drawings in Imperial, but we have to provide the site plan in metric. And generally, we want it to be geodetically correct to read the actual elevation when we do our site plan. So this is a great little series we're going to go through. So I'm just documenting some of the steps here before we get started into the actual activity. And we'll kind of follow this as we go through the different videos, probably 4 or 5 videos total. So one thing that I want to point out in this series is that when you're working in Revit, you can change the project units from metric to imperial and back and forth temporarily. And what this will do is globally change the units of any annotation set to read project units. So your dimensions, maybe some of your tags, your spot elevations, your levels, a lot of stuff that's set to read the project units, which is a good thing, will just follow whatever you happen to set. Now that's a little bit risky because as you change it, it's actually going to change everything. So first of all, it may take some time and it's not recommended for larger projects. So changing and flipping the units back and forth isn't really recommended outside of maybe smaller projects, but it can be done. And the fact is the impact of doing that will change all of the annotations that are set to read project units, and then you can override them, and that's what we're going to learn how to do here. So having said that, the first step we're going to do here is we're going to identify the site plan. So basically identify the site plan, look at where the view range and the cut plane is and what visibility graphics are set to be on, and what categories are turned on and stuff like that. So basically do a kind of a check of the site plan itself. Next thing we're going to do is go to the site plan and change the view scale to be something metric, like 1 to 200 or 1 to 500. So we have to do that by clicking and changing it to say custom, and then you can change it to whatever you want. So you just change the view scale of that site plan. Then what we're going to do is open the elevation or a section view and use the relocate project tool to move the project vertically up or down is what we're talking about, because by default it's at 0. So we can move it up or down, and we can, even if we're in imperial units, as long as we put an M after the digits, it'll convert that, do a hard conversion from metric to imperial. So you can enter metric dimensions and offsets even in imperial drawing. So we'll move the project up by so many meters up and into the sky, and then we just have to do a zoom to fit. And now we're geodetically correct, and now we have to tell the annotations to read that survey point. So the first thing we're going to have to do is open up the circle family, do a save as, give it a new name, and in that family we're going to change it to, instead of saying project units, we're going to hard code it to say metric and say 2 decimal places, save and reload that back into the project. After we do that, we're going to duplicate the level head and apply this new family as part of the type. And then we're going to actually change the property base elevation to be survey point. So there's several steps involved in getting that level to now read the geodetic number. That's what that exercise is. Next, we're going to go to the site plan and draw some property lines, and we can use the M suffix again, or we can change the project units to metric and we don't have to say M and everything will convert. So we can try it both ways. Then we're going to load a metric property tag and tag those property lines that we created, and it's going to use metric units. Then we're just going to create a quick topo surface, and again vertically we can set the offset of those survey points by using an M, or we can temporarily change our units in the site plan. Then we're going to place a spot elevation after duplicating and changing its units format to be metric. So we have to take a spot elevation and duplicate it and say you are not reading the project units, you are hard coded to metric once again. So you have to really manually take the annotations and tell them create custom ones and tell them not to read the project units, because inevitably we are going to leave the project units at Imperial because that's what the remainder of the project and majority of the project wants to use. So we have to create exceptions. We have to tweak all this stuff to be metric, but it can be done. Then we're going to just place a dimension. Same thing, we're going to duplicate the dimension and change the project units format from project units to metric units. So once again, we're going to change the spot elevation, we're going to change the dimensions, and we're going to change the level head all to read metric rather than to read the project units. That's the key. And then in the end, we can drag and drop our metric site plan right onto an Imperial sheet. That doesn't make any difference. It'll just put the scale in there for you. Okay, so that's kind of 16 steps right there on what we're going to do in this little mini series, and inside of that you'll get all kinds of tips and stuff when it comes to using metric and Imperial units within the same project. So